Hey everyone, welcome to my show, My So-Called Fabulous. I'm Tiffany. Welcome everyone. And if you're watching on YouTube, thank you so much. We're new at this YouTube game and you're going to get to see what I'm wearing, my guest is wearing, and so many more things too. And I have in studio today with me, oh my goodness, this fabulous woman. And I'm so excited when I get fellow podcasters on here. She has an amazing podcast. You must listen. Oh my gosh. And we're going to get into this, but I need her podcast, and so do you. So everyone, welcome to the show, Lea Fisher. Welcome, Lea.
Hi, Tiffany. Thank you so much for having me. I'm so grateful to be here.
It's so wonderful to see you, meet you finally face to face. We have a common friend, Allison Volk, and
Yes.
she is such a powerhouse and a connector.
Oh, she's the biggest connector in the world. I mean, she's just a master at what she does. Absolutely.
She is. Well, you bring to us the art of podcast, and you are a healing curator.
Yes.
And I love that because you have healed and you continue to heal throughout your life. And I would say that I'm a work in progress, and I listened to your podcast and you are as well. So tell us why you are a healing curator. You have a master's degree in counseling. You did the counseling thing a little bit, therapist, but decided you would take a turn. So give us a little insight on you.
Yeah. So the way I came to create the podcast, excuse me, is that, I would pretty much say that there isn't a problem that I haven't had.
Yes.
I've had a lot of issues and a lot of problems. It stemmed from coming from a traumatic background. I had a mother who struggled with mental illness and heroin addiction, and my dad was schizophrenic, and very kind, loving people, but very, very sick. And so I really suffered from abuse that wasn't like a sexual abuse or physical abuse, but it was really neglect, right? Because they were not able to show up. So I really just had to fend for myself when I was a kid and really emotionally bring myself up. And, there was some impoverished circumstances that were involved. So like coming where there's not a lot of money and a lot of supervision. Not only was I kind of dealing with the neglect, but also the outward influences of the world that are not kind to kids. I was a victim of sexual assault when I was very young.
Ugh.
And just, it's just trauma, trauma. So growing up, I was very in sink or swim. I was definitely the swimmer. I didn't want to suffer like my parents did. I wanted to be responsible adult. I wanted to look a certain way. I wanted to project as okay. And so I became very functional, had a lot of pretending going on and just a lot of dysfunction. I couldn't connect with people and just was kind of self-abandoning, abusing myself. So I suffered with anxiety, depression, substance abuse. I didn't quite have the addictive gene, but I certainly drank and like abused like recreational
Self-medicate,
drugs.
right?
Yeah, and like all the things, right? And so fast forward till I'm about 30, I'm complete in depression. I mean, I have a great job. On the outside, I look like, oh yeah, she's on the right track. Everything is happening. But I continued to, everybody I dated wasn't, had problems.
Of course.
Alcoholism, mental, just marrying my parents. So I got into Al-Anon at 30. That turned my whole life around. I started learning about healing and self-care and self-love. While I'm in there, I meet some beautiful women who were therapists. I decide that's what I want to do. I get my master's. In the meantime, I start my art career and my life took another left turn. So when I'm painting, I have this series of paintings called self-portraits, but they're inner self-portraits. And I had painted about 40 of them. And when I started looking at them all together, I realized how dysfunctional they were.
Wow.
Yeah, they were unhappy, they were bitchy, they were cool, and they were edgy, and, and people definitely related to them on a human level. However, I was like, wow, this is my unconscious on this canvas speaking to me about how my inner world is turbulent. And I wrote a book about it. It's coming out in spring, but in the book, it was 40 of these portraits with vignettes and then resources at the bottom saying, okay, you have an alcoholic mom. This is what I did. This is a book I read. I went to Al-Anon. And so it was like this little reference book telling people what they could do if they related to that particular neuroses that I was dealing with at that time in my life. Mm-hmm. And so when I put it all together, I was like, wow, I really have a passion for this and I have a lot of knowledge around these healing subjects. I'm going to do a podcast.
Wow.
And that's where the origin story of that.
That's how The Art Of was born.
Yes.
From coming that, because I looked at your website when we spoke. I hadn't listened to different podcasts of yours. And I looked at your self-portraits, your mixed media, of course, your abstracts. Beautiful, y'all. You have to go to her website and we'll give you that information. But I was looking at your paintings and going, gosh, I mean, what I saw was, oh my gosh, she was wearing this today or something else. And then when I heard what you were saying in your podcast about different seasons of those times of your lives when you were painting, because emotions and feelings do come out in the brushstrokes, don't they?
Absolutely, especially in the school of art that I practice. It's called Reflectionism. It was founded by J.D. Miller, my husband, and it's all about incorporating the law of attraction and really representing on canvas what we're experiencing internally. So I always knew that my paintings were a little bit like edgy, like they were a little scary, even though there were bright colors and like diamond dust and glitter and stuff. There was always this like, yeah, but it's a little twisted, It would scare
There's something going on.
Yeah, it would scare JD a little bit. He's like, man, that's really cool, but what's going on with you, And but I think people really related to it because we all have that part of us in our humanness. And so when people saw it, they were like, oh yeah, like I'm not alone in the darker aspects of my experience here.
Right. So your book of your paintings, your self-portraits, comes out in the spring. We are in 2022, around in the fall, so it'll come in the spring. How has that changed you now? What has that done for you now? Did you say, okay, I've got to get my act together because I was in a very dark place, right?
This was all kind of happening at the same time. Like there was this an extra jump in healing level. It happened during COVID. I finished the book during COVID.
You did? Okay.
I had separated from JD. I'm spending a lot of alone time. I started listening to podcasts for the first time in my life. And this medium, this landscape of thought leaders who are out there bringing all this information to the forefront around healing and these important conversations, I didn't even know that was out there. So it really jump-started my next spiritual and emotional evolution. So it was all happening at the same time. But I think seeing it all together, I felt like, okay, I think I'm uniquely qualified to do something around this because, I mean, what else could be the purpose other than healing and then sharing it with people so that they could also, heal?
Of course. Yeah. Now, I was thinking when you were talking about this, and I know nothing what I'm talking about other than I have friends that have had as a child or their children have done this, gone to therapy, and the therapist has them draw. So is that emotions coming out? Is that a fair question that is a form of therapy?
Oh, absolutely. I mean, art therapy, especially with children and patients of eating disorders, is really actually everything. Because sometimes with our language, it's hard to find the words. And so like a color can represent sadness, like it would be blue, or like anger, it would be very red, or discomfort, it might be a putrid green, right? And then if you take just a line, like a straight line is maybe, it can be very direct, it can be very harsh, it can be very scary. You have a crooked, jagged line, I mean, that's like anxiety, right? Or a smooth line or a wavy line is also going to be in flow. So there are infinite combinations of how you can put that together to express a thought or an emotion.
Right.
For sure. Yeah.
So Lea, your podcast, you are a healing curator. you help people through your podcast. It's so obvious looking at your guests, and you have such a plethora of guests too, which is so good. We have to keep it fresh.
Right.
But is that how you you can use, and you use your trauma and your counseling degree? Is that your medium of self-expression to help people? Because I read your reviews. By the way, y'all, rate and review us, because we need that.
Yeah.
just a little plug. But I was reading some of your reviews. You have, I don't know if this is the right word, but you have patience. That's like you have clients.
Well, in a sense, what I like to do is, I don't know, I haven't arrived anywhere. And being a therapist is it's an art into itself, and you really have to be very diligent to take responsibility for everything. I kind of feel like I'm just going along with these people right now.
Yes.
And I'm just saying, hey, I'm feeling kind of depressed today, and like, damn it, here I am again. And so what I'm going to do is I'm going to pick up this resource, or I'm going to read this, or I'm going to listen to this podcast. You might want to try it out too. So I really want to teach people to take responsibility for their own healing, because there's so much at our fingertips. Therapy is amazing. It's wonderful. But at the end of the day, we have to pick up responsibility for ourselves. And we're living in an age where we have, I can't believe the resources out there for really our evolution. We're living in a spectacular time to overcome the trauma individually and as a group.
Right.
So.
Don't you wish the younger child had what resources you? I know you're shaking your head, just like, oh my gosh. So the trauma you went through with your parents, was it very early on in your life? It was from the get-go?
Yeah. So they divorced when I was 4. And my dad was very sick and was in and out of the hospital for many, many years through my childhood and teens. He did eventually get into AA, him and my mom, and they both really were success stories in that way.
Wow.
However, when parents divorce, whether it's always going to feel like an abandonment, even though no one's abandoning the child. Children always take it on themselves that it's their fault somehow. So abandonment issues has certainly been a theme throughout my life and my relationships, even today.
Even today.
And when I'm in a relationship, every time I get an insecure feeling, I always have to go back to that 4-year-old kid and say, okay, what do you need? What kind of love do you need? You're safe.
Wow.
All the time.
All the time.
Yeah.
Because I'm looking at you, people watching us, you are a beautiful, successful, smart, you're talented, a 10 years artist. And we had this conversation. What do you not have to be thankful for? What do you have to be not confident about? We have it. It's the lack of confidence, but it's that abandonment, of course, and the trauma, I think I started healing when I forgave myself, and I started healing when I was transparent, because I hid. I hid a marriage I had that was so horrible. And it's not just a marriage. You went to prison for murder. So, that was pretty bad.
Wow.
It was pretty bad.
I'm glad it wasn't you.
Well, that's true, because I bet that was next. So,
man, that's
you never know.
tough, though.
But I didn't trust men, and I hid it and hid it. Did you go through a phase of your life you were hiding? I guess as a child you were saying like you had a play-like world.
Yeah, I had to pretend like everything. Yeah. It was a very dishonest existence, but I was just pretending like I was normal and I was okay. And the shame of not wanting to tell people what's going on, it's the lowest vibrating human emotion. It's as close to death as we can get is shame. And when we're in abuse, for some reason, it's there. So, but like you, when I could tell my truth and really be vulnerable with people, that's actually when I started getting what I truly always wanted, was connection and love, because everybody's been through it.
Everyone.
Everyone's been through something they feel ashamed about. So it just makes us connected to people when we can tell the truth about ourselves.
It does, and this platform, I was super nervous the first time. I'll never forget doing the podcast about my history with, and I was so ashamed. Like, how could you select or choose this person in your life when it's such a menace to society? And I remember a friend of mine, that I spent a lot of time with, text me and she went, "Wait, you had a first marriage?" She didn't know.
Wow.
And maybe this is an excuse, Leah, but I suppressed it so much. Like, I didn't even believe it was like a thing for a while. I think I was lying so much about it, and living that lie. But I was so ashamed. I mean, it's just, it just made me feel horrible. Yeah. But now, what is the opposite from shame? So that's the lowest. Yeah. Tell us the opposite.
So the highest, so there's transcendence from all the emotions, but really the highest one is maybe peace. Mm-hmm. So it's joy, and then peace is the highest.
Peace is the highest.
Yeah.
That is amazing. I'm at peace with making that decision.
Yes.
That decision in my life. I really am at peace. My daughter asked me recently, because we were just start out season 4, and I was talking about it on the podcast. She goes, "Are you scared?" And I'm like, "No. Yeah. I'm not." Yeah. I had to get through that. You know what I mean? I'm not scared of what people have to, what people think anymore, because
that's
I'm 57 now.
And you are so fabulous. So beautiful.
Well,
so
you're
amazing.
Sweet. But, we were also talking, Lee and I were talking about this earlier. People ask me all the time, "Why are you doing this? Why are you having a podcast? Why are you doing it?" And we were talking about I want people to learn from my failures, and the therapists that have been on here, I'm so sorry. I know you coached me not to say that, but it works better for me because they were failures, but I did learn more from my failures than my success. Yeah. Success is fabulous. It's great, but yikes, that kick in the butt it's not great. You know what I mean? So
I do. And what's interesting about success is that, there's a scale of emotions from a book called Power versus Force. Mm-hmm. And it actually has a numbered scale, and there's a whole philosophy behind this. So you have shame at the bottom, peace and transcendence at the top. Desire and ambition are like somewhere. So desire is like 150, which anything below 200 is considered a life-sucking emotion. It takes away your life force. Anything above 200. So desire kind of teeters on that, and success is kind of right above that. So success doesn't necessarily give us all these life-affirming, warm, nurturing emotions. It's almost like cocaine. Like you want more.
I want more of it.
More. And
right.
It's not. If success is the goal,
yes,
you're never going to arrive there.
Exactly. Yeah. In motivation too, the guests I have on here, the people that you hear from and that I hear from, that motivates me so much to do better. And I was talking about why I did this. And people are like, "Oh my gosh, at the time I was 54. Why are you doing this? Why? Your husband didn't retire." This is about my husband. This is about me. But I wasn't finished. I'm not finished. I don't want to put out to pasture and watch Lifetime TV.
No. And I think when you're a seeker, like you are and I am, we've had the sensation of our heart opening and feeling love and like being brought to tears by just feeling so good and connecting with people. And when you can learn that you can be a conduit for that, then that's where you're trying to get. Not like, "Oh my gosh, she has like all these listeners and all these followers," but like just the people that say, "What you said to me meant so much to me and it really changed my life." I mean, that's it.
Yes. I love to make people smile, and sometimes when you're walking down the street, I'm like, I'm going to make that person smile. But
you do?
I do.
Oh, I love this.
Watch this. And then they put masks on us. That didn't work out very well.
Yeah. No kidding.
But I thought, you know what? I'm going to hopefully change someone's day. But I want to make someone smile. But people are uncomfortable. What is that emotion? They're just insecure, or they think that I'm a weird person, or
that shame.
That shame.
Yeah. Like not being able to show your spirit and your smile and your joy. I mean, because it's also very vulnerable to be happy and to be open. You know, when you're happy, somebody can come and just like stab you in the heart because you have no protective gear on.
Right.
And we do this emotionally because we're not cave people anymore. People aren't doing this, but you know, you feel like you have to be protected from just the energies that be.
Absolutely, the energy that we do put up. I know, and y'all, it's not this way every day. It's not full energy every day.
So I want you to do that. I want you to like film this, like you going down the street, you know, trying to make people laugh.
Exactly. Hey, there's an idea.
Oh my gosh, I will be there. I'll be all like the commentator, like, here she goes, here she is.
Hey, y'all, if you're watching on YouTube, there's someone just walked by. I almost wanted to stand up and see if I could make them smile, but I'm not going to make a fool of myself just yet. Give me time. Give me time.
I love this as a concept. I love it.
That is a concept. So, you know, when we talk about success, you and I were talking about it, and I resonated with this so much. For example, y'all, believe it or not, we love to have sponsors for our podcast. And recently we had a sponsor. Well, I was making every excuse of why I got this sponsor. And again, this is recent. So I was saying to myself, oh, it's just luck. You know what I mean? It's just, I'm doubting myself. I mean, it's just, oh my gosh, they just need a space or whatever. And I have to go back to this because I do slip and fall. But we do have something to offer. And what did you were talking about that earlier, like self-doubt is so real.
Oh, it's so real. It shows up in so many different ways. I think that you're referring to what I was talking about as imposter syndrome. Imposter syndrome. And a lot of times people who are very successful and are huge manifestors and accomplish a lot in their lives and, high achievers, right? That sometimes they can have a sense of it wasn't based on their efforts. It wasn't based on their talent. It might be like who they knew or luck or just like, oh, those people were just stupid. Like, you know?
Exactly.
Because we're taught, especially as women too, to be like a little bit self-deprecating and you know, like, oh, I'm so humble and, you know, and don't be prideful. So I think it's hard for people to really attribute it to their talent. And I think it really just comes down to self-worth issues, which is my constant work every single day to say, I am talented, I am beautiful, I am successful. And it's because I showed up to my life, not because somebody gave it to me or, you know, just because like I'm here and I manifested this existence.
I love what you just said. I showed up to my life. How fabulous is that? That's true.
Yeah.
Because some people are not showing up and you are helping people with that podcast. I know you are. I mean, it's amazing. Yeah. I mean, I just love it.
People have come up to me and like cried and said, thank you so much.
Yes.
And I'm just like, oh my gosh, I'm really happy.
I mean, that's it. I tell you. Yeah. So I want to talk to you about self-control because, I've been very transparent. I grew up having an eating disorder, bulimia, anorexia. I had food issues. You know, I'm not sure you really get over it. I mean, you know, it's always this constant struggle. Yeah. But what I could, and I want to talk about self-control. I could control that. And that's why I was empowered. And the people that are listening to this in the population, it's staggering, the numbers with eating disorders. Self-control. Is that true what I was going through? I can control what's going in and out of my body. So it took a lot of therapy and a lot of podcasts and self-talk and self-help to that self-control, because that's hard, because that's just a difficult place, right?
Yeah.
I mean,
so yes, so I worked as a marketing director at Presbyterian Hospital for their eating disorders program for a stint of years, and got to see a lot of patients. And eating disorders are a special kind of addiction because it is you do have agency over, okay, if I don't put that in my mouth, like I will not weigh a certain amount, or everything feels out of control, but I can do this one thing. But you know, that is true. That is true. However, the part of your soul that you're trying to medicate, the fear of being out of control, it doesn't exactly work, does it? Right? Because then your body doesn't function well, or emotionally, maybe you weigh a certain amount, but you can't have a relationship. You can't really work. Your mind isn't working as sharp because you're not feeding and nourishing yourself, right? And it's a little like other addictions, like say, a Xanax addiction or like a opiate addiction. A lot of depression and anxiety medicated with that. Yes, it will medicate things, depression and anxiety, but you can't, same thing, you can't show up to your life. You can't feel things. So you are controlling something. You are, but the price that you pay of the other stuff that gets out of control is exponential.
I had no idea, the younger me, I had no idea what I was doing to my body at the time. Oh, I had no idea. But now I'm dealing with gut issues, esophagus issues. I can't even say that. But you know what I mean? And then, of course, the mental impact this does on you. And I'm just a huge advocate of certainly talking through this, getting help, and recognize it. And you know what? I remember telling someone in my life about that, and they're like, no, you don't. No, you don't. What did I feel right away? Shame. Maybe I don't. You know what I mean? So it's just that self-control. And that's tough. That's a tough one to take on, you know? So.
Yeah. And something that I've been thinking about a lot lately is the concept of faith. I'm not traditionally religious, but it's kind of the opposite of addiction, because like whatever your addiction du jour is, like whether it's eating disorder, whatever it is, work or shopping,
sex,
anything, like you're scared of something, you're scared of feeling something. And when you're really like exploring faith, you're turning this something over, and you're willing to feel this emotion, let it process through your body. And you have to have some kind of faith in something other than just you, whatever it is. I mean, I call it God, people can call it whatever they want, but you have to learn to surrender to something bigger than yourself.
Something. And you're right.
It's the only way out.
It is the only way out.
Addiction, any kind of addiction, is the most self-consuming, closed off, shameful state one can be in. And faith is the complete opposite. Say, okay, I'm like willing to show up and be here.
Wow, is that amazing?
Yeah.
Amazing. I mean, I just love what you're doing. You've been an artist for 10 years?
A little over, yeah.
Oh my gosh. Did you just seriously wake up one day and go, I'm just going to start painting?
So as a child, I was always creative. All I wanted to do was paint, draw, sew, dancing, anything. I was super obnoxious about it too. I was like, watch me sing Olivia Newton-John like 20 times. It was never really presented as a career path. And the only thing in my mind I'd ever heard about it was starving artist. I wasn't really aware that there were art schools. I just know I was going to go to college, and I was going to college. That was it. And it wasn't for art. So I got out, and like when I was 30, I started painting with JD. And I had a latent talent for it. I started painting. I was pretty much just overnight. I got painted for a couple of years, off and on, and then I connected with JD, and then when he saw the work I was doing, he said, let's put it on to sell it.
Wow.
And overnight, like I had an art career, like overnight.
You're kidding.
Yeah.
I mean, and it is the abstract. I just love them. I just love it.
Thank you.
Beautiful.
Thank you. I mean, I'm so fortunate. I'm so fortunate to do what I do. Yeah.
And that is such power when you say what you just said. You are so fortunate to do what you do. And I am too, blessed.
Yeah.
So excited to get up to every day and do what we do.
Yeah. Well, and I think I also think that we live with an energetic intention of service and bringing like what we're grateful for to the world. And I think that when you're in flow like that, then you continue to receive things to be grateful for.
Absolutely. Right. Be grateful. Absolutely. And offer grace. Now, I want to say, this is what I read on your website. As a healing curator, You provide a growing community with the raw materials they need to activate their own self-healing.
Yes.
You said, now make no mistake, though, I'm not here to be your guru, nor am I sitting on a hill somewhere in a lotus position.
I know.
Oh my God. Sharing my raw life is just proof that perfection is not prerequisite to healing. You're worthy of creating the life you want today, just as you are. That is so beautiful.
Oh, thank you.
I love that.
Thank
That is
you.
perfect.
Thank you.
I mean, that sums it all up.
Yeah.
So,
Yeah, I am certainly, I have not arrived anywhere. I mean, the same stuff kind of picks up. It shows up every day, and I have to surrender every day.
every day.
I have to surrender every day. I can get in shame like that.
Of course, of
Yeah.
course.
But I don't stay there. You know,
Yeah.
I have tools, I have support, I have community, and, you know,
Pick yourself up.
and everybody can have that.
And y'all, everyone, put your big girl panties on and just get going.
That's right.
For sure.
That's
It's not
right.
easily said as done. For
Yeah.
sure. We know that. For
That's
sure.
right. Yeah.
Well, I am so happy to have you on here. So tell us how we can find you.
Yeah, so I'm on Instagram at Lea Fisher Art, and then also my website is Lea Fisher Art, and it's really cool because a lot of the resources that I talk about in my podcast, I have a really fun little resource section, so you can find a bunch of information there.
Oh,
like
yes.
if you're feeling like crap one day, just like scroll around on there and just like pick something with your eyes closed because it's all good.
It's all great.
It's all
It
good.
is. Well, it is so wonderful. And go and rate and review and subscribe to The Art of Podcast.
Yes, and also this one too. So not
Please.
just mine, do both.
Do both. Y'all go ahead. And seriously, rating and reviewing is huge for us.
It is.
Any engagement we can get, but we all love it. Y'all, give us 5 stars, everyone. And y'all, we're new to this YouTube game. Everyone follow along. We're going to see some cool things on here, and absolutely follow me on Instagram on all platforms, Tiffany C. Blackmon. And everyone have a wonderful evening and keep being fabulous.